For 12 long years, Sarah Thompson woke up every morning with a heavy heart and a desperate hope. Maybe today, I'll hear from them. The phone never rang. The door never knocked. No one ever came to explain what had happened to her husband and daughter. One moment, they were supposed to be enjoying a peaceful weekend sail on the calm waters. The next, vanished. No wreckage, no bodies. Just an empty boat, adrift, as though the sea had swallowed them whole. And with them, Sarah's world was stolen. There were no signs of a struggle, no distress signals, just silence. The authorities had given up. The world told her to move on. They called it an accident, an unsolved mystery, a tragedy. But for Sarah, something didn't sit right. She couldn't believe it. She couldn't accept that they were gone. Why didn't they fight for their lives? Why didn't they try to come back? The questions haunted her, gnawing away at her soul. It wasn't just the loss of her family. It was the loss of herself, of her identity. She was left to grieve for two people who had just disappeared. But Sarah never stopped searching. And then, everything changed on May 15th, 2022. It was an ordinary Saturday, or so she thought when her phone buzzed with a message from her old friend Linda, a woman who traveled often and always sent cheerful, light-hearted updates. This time, though, the message was different. It was a video. No caption. Just a quick, casual note. "You won't believe where I am." She clicked the video, expecting something trivial. But when the screen loaded, it wasn't trivial at all. The camera bounced with the rhythm of a lively festival. Music, bright colors, laughter filled the air. People twirled in the streets, and children chased bubbles that danced into the air like magic. But as the camera tilted slightly to the right, everything froze. There, in the background, were two familiar faces. The man with his rugged shoulders, his confident posture, Mark, and beside him, laughing, twirling in a way only she would recognize, was Sophie, her daughter. But she wasn't a little girl anymore. She was older, different, more poised, but the eyes were unmistakable. Sarah's heart stopped. The world seemed to spin in slow motion. Mark, Sophie, how could it be? No, this wasn't possible. She replayed the video, again and again. Each time, the truth became clearer. There they were, alive. They had disappeared. No, they hadn't drowned. They hadn't been taken. They had simply walked away. And for 12 years, Sarah had been living a lie, mourning people who had left her. And they hadn't just left. They had chosen to leave her, to start anew, without a single word, without even a goodbye. She felt the ground beneath her shake. The air seemed to turn colder, and her hands trembled, gripping her phone like it was the only thing holding her together. For 12 years, she had lit candles, waiting for answers. For 12 years, she had lived in the dark, refusing to believe the truth. But now, the truth had found her, and it was more painful than any loss she could have imagined. How long had they been living this new life? How long had they been hiding in plain sight, laughing, living, while she sat in mourning, burying the ghosts of people who had never truly left her? The question burned inside Sarah. Why? Why didn't they come back? Why did they abandon me like this? She needed to know. She needed answers, and she was going to get them, no matter the cost. Sarah booked a flight to Ecuador, where she had seen them in the video. She didn't tell anyone. No friends, no family. She had no intention of explaining herself to anyone. She was going alone, searching for the truth that had eluded her for over a decade. When she arrived, she didn't waste time. She followed the images, the little details from the video. The red lanterns, the blue shutters, the pink wall. Every step, every turn led her closer to them, and when she found them, there was no relief, no closure, no apology. They had built new lives under new names, Miguel and Rosa. Mark and Sophie had transformed themselves into someone else entirely. The faces were different, but the way they moved, the way they were together, was the same. The chemistry, the connection, it was still there, and it was sickening. Sarah's stomach twisted. For days, she watched them, living their lives as if nothing had ever happened. She saw them laugh together, kiss, hold hands. They were together. The family she once had. The family that had been stolen from her, now remade in a foreign country. They had stolen her grief. They had stolen her life. They had stolen her family. Sarah wasn't looking for revenge. No, she was searching for something deeper. The truth was already clear, but she needed to confront them. She needed to hear them say it. Why? One night, she stood in the quiet streets, watching as they emerged from their yellow house, laughing, carefree. Her heart pounded in her chest. Every step felt like it could be her last. And then, when they saw her, everything changed. The world went silent. Sophie stopped in her tracks. Mark's face drained of color. There was no shock, no denial, only an eerie stillness. And in that moment, Sarah knew. They hadn't drowned. They hadn't died. They had chosen each other. They had chosen this life. And she had been the one left to die in the ashes of their absence. What happened to us? Sarah's voice trembled. Her hands were steady, but her soul was on fire. You didn't die. You just left, Mark stepped forward, trying to explain. But Sarah wouldn't let him. Don't you dare explain this to me. Sophie took a step forward, trembling. Mom, we didn't mean to hurt you. Sarah's voice was a whisper of broken fury. You let me bury you. You let me believe you were gone. And now you're standing here pretending nothing happened? You let me die while you danced in the streets. Mark raised his hand, as if to calm her. But Sarah was already past the point of no return. The gun was cold in her hand, but her heart was ablaze. She didn't raise it. Not yet, but they knew. They felt it. Mark's eyes widened. Sophie's hands trembled. I gave you everything, Sarah said, her voice barely audible. And you took it. All of it. The moment was endless. A flash of movement. A single shot. The world seemed to stop. Mark's body crumpled to the ground. Sophie screamed. But it wasn't fear. It was pain. Pain that Sarah had lived with for over a decade. Sophie fell beside him, crying out. But Sarah wasn't crying. There were no tears left. There was only the cold, harsh truth. The second shot echoed, and Sophie, too, collapsed. The street was silent. The world stood still. The police arrived, but it didn't matter. Sarah didn't resist. She didn't flee. She had spent 12 years waiting for this moment, and now it was over. As they read her rights, she didn't speak. She simply stood still, her eyes locked on the bodies of the two people who had once been her world. And as she was led away, she whispered to herself, I finally stopped drowning.